You are a man with a plan, as always, so what is it?
We did a risk analysis, and unfortunately, the risk to stay in New South Wales was too great. Our objectives are always to protect the health of the player and the community. So we were left with no choice after doing that analysis but to move all our teams to Queensland. We'll keep them there for a month. We'll analyse the data each day and each week and get them back as soon as we can. But unfortunately, the outlook in New South Wales is not good. I believe today there'll probably be more than 100 positives announced. And as I said, our priority is the health of our players and to keep the competition going without affecting the community. And it was a hard decision. But to make it easier, we also included their families, and they'll be able to take whoever they wish with them to ensure that their mental well-being is also looked after.
And what are the logistical challenges for you now, and how quickly do you need to move?
Well, at the last count, we had about 1,200 people we need to get up to Queensland in order to keep the competition going. You need to put them in different hubs and different hotels. We have to analyse when the next games are on to put those teams in those particular areas. You've got to organise their centres of excellence, the gymnasiums. There's a great deal of planning that needs to be done, and unfortunately, we've got limited time to do it because these venues have only just become available, and we're taking up, each venue exclusively, which makes it even harder because there's a lot of rooms we probably won't be using. So those hotels are also foregoing revenue to assist us.
Okay, well, it looks like Queensland is really worried, as you say, about the situation in New South Wales and might actually shut the border to New South Wales. So I imagine that you've got ongoing negotiations with the Premier there to make sure that you are exempt from any kind of hard border.
Look, the Premier of Queensland has been fantastic. She couldn't be more supportive of rugby league. She's a keen rugby league follower. So she's been able to do everything we can within the health guidelines, of course. We know we're not going to in any way put anyone at risk, and we're going through each of those protocols they require us to adhere to, and we will do that. It will certainly be harder if the border closes. But, these are challenges we've faced in the past and we'll face them again. Well,
Origin Game 3, as we know, is going to be in Queensland. We've flirted with the idea of having it in Newcastle. Well, that wasn't possible. Now, this is a pretty good way to have a sweet victory if you're from New South Wales, isn't it? 3 from 3 in Queensland. That's some expert trolling.
Look, we feel very sorry for Newcastle. We forewent a bigger financial return from other areas and states to play it at Newcastle to reward the loyalty of that heartland in the Hunter. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. We weren't allowed a crowd, and I can understand that. The government doesn't want to take any risk that, there's a super spreader that comes out of Sydney into Newcastle. It's no good having a game there with no audience. The atmosphere of State of Origin is crucial. And so so we moved it to the Gold Coast where 27,000 people can attend. And I hope it's full and the atmosphere is deserving of a State of Origin game.
Look, you've had a tough couple of weeks. You have to adapt pretty quickly. We've seen some footballers breaking the rules. We've all got a bit of COVID fatigue at the moment. And some of these footballers have been living under a pretty strict conditions imposed by the NRL for many months now, even when Sydney wasn't in lockdown. Do you think they were too tough, which made compliance for a long time too hard?
No, I don't think they were too tough. Because we only reintroduced the 4 protocol in the last 2 weeks. They've been pretty well being treated as normal citizens in New South Wales. The bubble wasn't as strict. I think what's happened here is, like anywhere else, we became complacent. The whole community in New South Wales is complacent. The players are human beings. They're no different. They're also complacent. I think everybody thought we got over this pandemic, and then we had this monster wake-up call called the Delta virus, and I'm sure the players realise now how important it is, and I don't think you're going to see too many transgress, but with the new protocols.
Well, before I let you go, you are New South Wales Racing Chairman, and over the weekend we saw Jamie Carr make history. How good is Jamie Carr?
She's fantastic. I can't tell you how good she is, and we're looking forward to having her in New South Wales. The only problem is that she's a Victorian, but we won't hold that against her.
Yes, I should point that out. 100 Metro Victorian races in one season. She's made history. There's a lot of Ash Barty about Jamie Carr. When is she going to get to New South Wales? Can we claim her as our own yet?
We're going to try to. She's won a couple of big races here in New South Wales. She's already won a Group 1 here. So, look, she's an extraordinary talent, and I just hope she goes higher and higher and higher because you know she's a very rare champion to come out in the jockey ranks.
Yeah, and look, racing has been one of those mainstays during the pandemic. You've been able to keep that going. You're confident it will happen through this latest cluster as well?
It's a greater challenge. This Delta virus is a lot more contagious. We're aware of that. You know, we've strengthened all our protocols. We've, you know, mandated new masks, which have greater filters to ensure that the airborne situation with Delta. Look, I'm confident that we can continue. Our jockeys and our trainers and all our participants have been exceptionally conscientious and professional in following the protocols. If they continue to do that, I can't see that we'll have a problem.